It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, November 3rd, very important. You know, it's Election Day, and we talk about facts on The Sam Lesante Show, folks. So throughout the weeks coming to the election, we are bringing people on, and hopefully you'll learn about facts, not rhetoric, not nonsense, but really true facts. Today, my guest is District Attorney Stefanie Salavantis, and she'll be here today talking about what she promised and what she's doing. You know, Stefanie, first of all, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I always said this about former Governor Tom Corbett. When I interviewed him before he became Attorney General, he said he wanted to do certain things. Right. And he promised the Commonwealth he was doing certain things, and he accomplished them. Then he ran again, and I said, well, he said, this is what I said, Sammy, we're going to do, and this is what we accomplished. He said what he wanted to accomplish his second term, and he did them. Same thing for governor. He said this is what he wanted to do, and he did them. All right. Now, I'm going to put you in the same situation. I interviewed you before you ran for district attorney, okay? Right. Let's talk about some of the things that you said you wanted to bring to the Luzerne County residents.
Well, one of the main things that I wanted to bring to our Luzerne County residents, specifically Southern Luzerne County, was more of a presence from the Luzerne County District Attorney's Office, and I have done just that. I have dedicated an assistant district attorney to Southern Luzerne County to assist all police departments with whatever needs they have and to answer any questions they have throughout their investigations. I worked closely with the mayor and the chief of police in Hazleton and was able to open the first ever office in City Hall in Hazleton. So I was very proud of having that presence, and we continue to work closely with law enforcement in Southern Luzerne County. I think by doing that, we are able to solve these crimes quickly and more efficiently. And I commend law enforcement in Southern Luzerne County for the dedication that they have in an ever-changing environment. We see financial strains left and right. We need more help when it comes to law enforcement and the presence that we have in Southern Luzerne County. But we're putting that all aside. Law enforcement that's in place in Southern Luzerne County are doing everything they possibly can to assist the residents and try to keep their neighborhoods safe. When
you were talking about presence, okay, how about the budget, okay, your budget? Because we know everyone's saying, you know, where are the cops, where's this, you know, we're always looking for that crime, drugs, you know, right. The whole thing that you have to be faced with. How is the county addressing your budget and what your needs are?
Well, every year let's go back. The first year I took office, we were cut drastically. We lost 5 very competent, educated assistant district attorneys in the office, and we were never able to replace them. Right off the bat, we were dealing with budget constraints and a lack of resources just from our standpoint in the district attorney's office. We also lost a detective's position, so we at that point were down 6 positions in the office, and while I am still trying to assist all of the police departments as much as I possibly can. So I had to reorganize the office so it operated more efficiently and effectively. So as the years went on and we were cut a little here, cut a little there, because of the way that the office was reorganized, we were able to still save money and provide excellent assistance to law enforcement and a great record of prosecuting and convicting criminals. We have a 100% criminal homicide conviction rate to this date.
So, okay, let's talk about you. Excuse me. You're young, okay? I think you're a great attorney, but sometimes people may feel that you don't have the experience that someone else would have, okay? How do you address that?
Well, that's one of the things that my opponent has been attacking me on, experience. When I took office, I surrounded myself with the people that were in office that had the experience, and I learned from them. I have been in office for close to 4 years now. I have been the one handling all the major cases in the office and making the big decisions. We have close to 17,000 cases that have come through our office to date, with so many investigations that we handle personally and then assist law enforcement throughout the entire county. Experience at this point, that's long gone. That is an issue that should never be raised, because I have been sitting in this office, I've been district attorney, and I have been making the hard decisions. And as I stated before, we have been prosecuting and convicting criminals left and right, and I believe we have a great success rate.
What was your biggest detriment when you took office that you were facing, other than the budget? Was there any? What was the thing that you were facing, and how did you accomplish that?
I don't know if I would call it a detriment, if that's what you stated, but I would say one of the biggest challenges when I took office, and it was one of the goals that I had when I was running, was Hugo Solinsky and trying and convicting Hugo Solinsky. When I took office, I looked at, I reviewed the case. I sat down with the people that were still in office that were handling it at that time. I looked at everybody in the office and organized a team that I felt was going to be able to prosecute and convict him. And we put together a large team of assistant district attorneys, my first assistant, Sam Sangodolce, Jarrett Ferrantino, and Mamie Phillips, handling the case, as well as multiple detectives and support staff, because this was a case that was lingering for 13 years in the district attorney's office, and the county just wanted to see him convicted and the case come to a close. And that was one of the challenges I had, and that was a promise I made to the residents, that I would make sure that we didn't have any more delays, and that on my watch he would be convicted, and that we did just that.
One of the things you also talked about is you wanted to get involved in the county and get to different places. And particularly when it comes to education, okay? Right. So what have you done in that respect in going to the county, either talking to high schools, senior citizens, elderly, or whatever?
Well, I have touched upon all of them. I have been very involved with Crime Watch. I am, and I believe we've talked about it multiple times on your shows, I'm a big proponent for Crime Watch groups, because to fight the crime that's being committed on our streets, we need to do it together. It shouldn't just be law enforcement or the district attorney's office. It needs to be the community as well. And so I get very involved with Crime Watch throughout the entire county. I go out and speak to many community organizations, and I get involved in different seminars, like elder abuse seminars, to educate our residents about what's going on, what we're seeing from the district attorney's office's perspective and law enforcement's perspective, and giving more information and educating the seniors in our community. I also have gone into the schools. We had a bullying program and suicide prevention program that I hit every single school district and tried to educate the kids and tell children that there are people here that care, that want to listen to them. These are just some of the different presentations that I have been involved in. And I continue to work to remain very active in the community and being a face that people know and that people trust. And if they ever have a problem or ever need someone to go to for guidance, that they know that they could come to me.
We all have job descriptions, okay? And people, they hear about the district attorney or pathonetary or whatever office. And sometimes people they know of it, but they don't know all of the details of the office, okay? So give us a 101 class on what are your duties and responsibilities. And this way would give us, the viewers, an opportunity of saying, okay, well, now we could see where she accomplished what she said she was going to accomplish.
The duties and responsibilities of the district attorney's office is to make sure that when charges are filed against an individual, that we review and make sure that everything is appropriate, the crime fits the charges, and that we prosecute and convict people, keeping the bad people off the streets. And that's what we're doing left and right in the district attorney's office. As I stated before, we have a great success rate, especially when it comes to drug and violent crime in our area. People need to know that we are involved with law enforcement. We assist in investigations. People see us all the time at homicide scenes, and but we are there to assist law enforcement, answer the questions that they need answered, help them in filing search warrants and filing certain charges. But ultimately, the responsibility is on law enforcement to conduct the investigation. And we do have the detectives in the office that are able to assist in investigating these crimes that are committed throughout Luzerne County. And in my opinion, and what I tell all of our municipalities is that every crime is important. So if there's ever a question anybody has, they should come to us if they need assistance from a detective, because our detectives have the experience. They are specialized in areas. For instance, we have a detective that is considered an ICAC trained detective. That's internet crimes against children. He specifically focuses on crimes of child pornography, sexual violence against children. And he follows up on tip lines that National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. He follows up on all of these calls and assists local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies on these investigations. So that's just a quick overview as to what we do. But it's complicated, and we try every day to make sure that the public knows that we are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that we are keeping the criminals, especially the violent criminals, off our streets.
So when there's a murder like there was in Walmart a couple days ago, or up here in Hazleton, when there's some serious things, you're there, okay?
Yes.
So why are you there?
I am there to assist law enforcement, and especially if you're looking at the Walmart shooting. That is an example of a case where I will then be presented all of the information, and I will make the decision as to whether the police shooting this individual was justified. So I personally make that decision when it comes down to it.
Stefanie, you feel that, the more education, particularly with young people, when it comes to drugs, I have 3 grandchildren that I worry about all the time, okay? They're 12, 11, and 10, okay? And they're in their vulnerable years, okay? They're in school, and you're always concerned, what are their friends talking about, who's going to prey on these young people. So by educating these people and saying, these are the concerns about when someone's talking to you about that, do you feel that this, it's a deterrent to a degree? I mean, I know we have them, and young people are so vulnerable they can get sucked in very easily. How do you approach that?
Well, some of my plans for the next 4 years and what I have been coming up with is a multi-level approach to the drugs and the addiction that we're seeing in our community. Most of the crime we are seeing being committed in our community is derived from drugs and drug addiction. And I think we need to address it in 3 levels: prosecuting and investigating, educating, and treatment. And education, as you stated, I think is one of the key components. We need to educate especially our younger generation on what this means when you try a drug for the first time, what that can do to your life, and show them the reality of it. I think it's very important. We have started going into schools. I have a detective going into schools, talking to students about what we've seen and how it could ruin your life. And I think it is a major component that needs to be addressed, and we need to start looking at different ways that we can help in combating the drug and drug addiction in our communities.
Now, you've been doing this in the last 4 years
Yes.
as a district attorney, okay? Have you seen How is the crime? I mean, how do we rate with crime? And I mean, it's disease all over the country. I mean, so it doesn't. You can pick up Luzerne County, Schuylkill County, Carbon. I mean, they all have the same problems. But you know, I remember you were saying, look, if you're going to do some crime here, you're going to pay a price when we get after you. Okay? Have you been vigilant on that area?
Oh yes. And that's where I come back to these major violent crimes that are being committed by these criminals. These criminals are now, if they haven't gone to trial, they're sitting behind bars, spending a good amount of their life behind bars, because we are tough on crime, especially violent crime that's committed in our communities. But when you have other individuals that are nonviolent, that are using drugs just because of their addiction. We have also focused on treatment, the treatment side of it. We have what we call treatment court. Other people know it as drug court. And this is when a crime is being committed, when the person is motivated from their addiction, alcohol, drug addiction. And what we are trying to do when it comes to treatment court is keep these individuals from going to jail, putting them into this program and holding them responsible and trying to help them through some of the worst times in their lives. Yes, it is.
Now, I always said, you know, people sometimes interpret kindness for weakness, okay? In your case, you know, we've seen you on TV many years, we've seen how you've approached, but don't take your kindness and, you know, your looks for weakness, because believe me, you're vigilant when it comes to that.
Yes, I
am. My good friends, the senior citizens, okay? Now, these are people who are duped, I think, all the time, and they're open to whatever they could do for protection, but it's unfortunate sometimes, Stephanie, where, especially around election time, you know, they're misled, and they've been misled for many of their years, and sometimes they don't even vote because they're so disgusted, which is sad. So what have you done for the senior citizens, and what can you do, you know, in the next 4 years? Elder abuse and all those other things that go along with, you know, being a senior.
Sadly, over the 4 years that I've been in office, we've seen an increase, and this isn't just in Luzerne County, it's throughout the state, throughout the nation when it comes to elder abuse. And it may be because we're talking about it more and people are more open to coming in and talking to police and being vigilant about what's going on in their community. And so we're seeing an increase in these abuses against our senior citizens. And so what I have done is I developed an elder abuse unit within our office. A detective and an ADA have been trained and continue to work closely with Area Agency on Aging. And they are there to help protect our senior citizens. We on a regular basis go out and speak to seniors on what to be aware of. There are, like you said, there are scams going on every day. We recently got a call, an unfortunate call from a woman, a senior citizen, and she was scammed out of close to $70,000. And it breaks your heart. And that's why I try to go around and I try to speak to our seniors and tell them that you are, in their eyes, the most vulnerable and the most trusting.
Yes.
And that's why they're taking advantage of you.
Yes.
If you think it's too good to be true, it most likely is. And I always tell them, if you have a question about something, call us. We will talk to you about it. We've had family members of the senior citizens, grandchildren, children calling us and saying, this person's calling my mother. Is this true? This person has contacted them by phone. Most places won't call you by phone. They'll either come to you in person, especially there are many IRS scams going on right now.
Yeah.
They will come to you in person or send you a certified letter, something along those lines. They will not call you and say you need to pay within a minute's notice.
You know, Stephanie, when you were on my show and you talked about the elder abuse, okay, I got a call after the show aired, during the show was when it ran, and the lady asked me, she said, Mr. Lesante, she said, can I really trust, you know, Stephanie? I know there's a concern across the street with this elderly person. I don't want to get involved, but I heard what she said. Can I trust her? Okay. I said, well, I don't think Stefanie would be on my show and say something that you cannot trust. And I don't know if they did, but it was a serious matter of the person across the street being abused, okay, right, by one of her children, okay, verbally, and slapped around a couple times. But I think you're right. The fact that you brought all this information out and people could come to you, that's why you're seeing, I think, more, because they're not afraid. They know it's going to be kept confidential, and at least even seniors themselves who feel they're being taken advantage of, okay? I think that's critical. You know, how do you, when it comes to voting and people going out voting for someone, like I said before, you said you were going to do certain things as a district attorney, and we have to see, well, facts are facts, okay? Right. Now, you said you have some key priorities, okay, for the next 4 years. Why do you want to continue to be the district attorney?
I have sat in that office and watched what criminals have done to our communities, and have fought so diligently and stood side by side with law enforcement in trying to help protect our communities. My family lives here. I want to see a change, and that's why I am running again. I want to make sure that some of the priorities I feel are important for our community are put in place, and that we continue on the right track. I started it. I started moving the office in the right direction, bringing the office to the 21st century, and trying to make sure that we are using the resources we have appropriately throughout the county. And I want to see that continue. And so that's why I am running again. And I hope that the people that voted for me, and people that were somewhat iffy about whether or not, at the time I heard it, you seemed so young, I didn't know if you could do it, that I hope I made them proud, because every day when I'm sitting in that office and I'm making the hard decisions, all I think about are the residents and how I could keep residents safe. And so that's why I have decided to run again.
In every election, your opponent will be on my show, and he will say what he has to say, and you're saying in every election, we see commercials, and sometimes you on both sides you shake your heads. Okay, is there anything that that is running that you feel is not true, or in some of these commercials? Because sometimes you look and say, oh, I didn't know she did that, or I didn't know he did that, etc. I mean, is there anything that you think the public should know?
Well, currently my opponent does have a negative ad running against me with regard to disapproved DUIs. And what I want the public to know is that ad is completely inaccurate. We and I in the office sat down with a reporter for over a week and went through each case that my opponent is claiming was disapproved for no reason at all. We went through all of these cases and discussed why these cases were disapproved. And I think my opponent is is misleading the community and trying to make them believe certain things so he could have a step up on me and make people doubt who I am and my integrity. But I want people to know that that commercial is inaccurate. And to say that these disapproved cases and the information that was disapproved, the sheets, the file documents on these cases, they were done in a public office, the clerk of court's office. They're publicly filed documents that were not done in secret. There are reasons why each case is disapproved, and that's what I want the community to know.
Sometimes in any business, and I tell my people, sometimes things suck your energy, okay, and it's a lot of wasted time when you could be using your energy in better. It's like gossip, it just sucks your energy. Rumors, it sucks your energy. Jealousy, envy, all that stuff. People just gossip and they think it's a great thing, and they just suck energy out of people. Okay?
And I agree with you, and that's why I have tried to remain positive. I want people to know what I have accomplished in my 4 years as district attorney, because I think that's what's important. These false advertisements that are on airing and misleading the community, those aren't important. The important things are what we're going to do to help our community and keep our community safe.
And that's why, Stephanie, you know, we have shows like this, even though they're paid for, but to bring facts out to the people, okay? When you have 29 minutes, you know, to explain what you've done, it's a lot better than a 30-second commercial, because you could explain the full thing. So when you're looking at this, the next 4 years as a district attorney, just to recap, in case someone's going through the channels and they're seeing you on the show, what are some of the key things that you'll be addressing now in the next 4 years?
I will be looking at how we can help prevent the drug crimes, the violent crimes that are coming in because of drugs and addiction. And I will be doing that with taking over the drug task force, and in the process of looking into doing that, educating our children and coming up with a comprehensive presentation plan as to how we can prevent kids from even trying drugs, and educating them on that side of it, as well as treatment, and focusing on that end and helping as many individuals as we can while keeping the recidivism down.
Treatment is another key area here,
yes.
because it's the sellers that you really got, you know, the guys who are pushing it should be slammed in jail.
Right.
But unfortunately, when someone gets hooked, they're trying to do what they can, and it's a very difficult thing. Working with Judge Amesbury, okay, who is very, very much active in as
Yes,
well as
he
other
is.
judges, okay,
Yes.
but. He is, Bill has been somebody who has been really active. Have you been working with him in any of the committees or what he's been putting?
I have worked with him. He was in charge of treatment court at one time.
Yeah.
Judge Skorowski has now taken over that role, and we now are working closely with him. But Judge Amesbury does remain involved. He is very passionate about this area. That is part of his past.
Yeah.
And we have many conversations about what we can do to help our community.
And so that's the joint corporation you need to work with, you
Right.
know, okay, and that's what it's important that no one, because sometimes egos, you know, when you get an
Right.
ego, what happens,
Gets
Stephanie?
in the way.
Boy, when you have an ego, even people like us, you know, we have egos and we're the best, okay?
Right.
Well, you know, if someone says I'm the best, I want to earn that, okay? So I don't see any egos in our Justice Department today. All the judges that I know,
They're wonderful.
they really are great. You, in the district attorney's office for Southern Luzerne, you said you opened an office here?
Yes.
Okay, and where is that office?
It's in City Hall,
Okay.
Hazleton City Hall.
And so what would be the importance of that office?
I think it's the presence. Before my time, I heard over and over while I was walking around talking to people in Southern Luzerne County, and all they said was, we felt left out. Someone actually said to me, we feel like the redheaded stepchild. That was one of the things that it was said so often.
Yeah.
And I told them that would change under my administration. I wanted to make sure that people knew that we are working side by side with law enforcement. People don't realize how large Luzerne County is.
Yeah.
It could take about an hour and a half to drive from one corner to the next. But, and I think that's what the big problem was, because from Wilkes-Barre to Hazleton could be almost a 45-minute drive.
So I'm going to give you 1 minute to tell the viewers why Stefanie Salavantis, our current district attorney, they should vote for you.
I have been in office for the past 4 years, and I have worked diligently in trying to make sure that our communities are safe, and that we, from law enforcement's perspective, have built a relationship, and we continue to build a relationship with our community. And we need to work together as a team. And if we don't do that, we will not succeed. And that has been my approach. I have accomplished everything that I've told the community I would accomplish in my 4 years, and focused on our most vulnerable, our senior citizens, our children, and tackled the drugs and gangs that have been coming into our communities. And I want to continue to do that. I want to make sure that we keep these streets safe, and that's why I ask for everybody's votes on November 3rd.
Thanks for coming on the show, Stephanie.
Thank you
Stefanie
very much.
Salavantis, our current district attorney, is asking for your vote This show, as you know, is played many times. It's on the website, so anyone in the world could watch this show, but particularly learn the facts, what people have to say, and then you make the judgment. But don't forget, folks, vote on November 3rd. We'll see you next time.